All right, when we last left off, Connor and Avon had agreed to investigate the shed and see what that mystery might be with the Kavanaughs. And Connor has been invited over for dinner. My parents weren't in the apartment when Connor and I got there. "You want a snack?" I asked him as we entered the tiny kitchen. "No, thanks," he said. "I'm not really hungry." "How can you not be hungry when you didn't even eat lunch?" "I'm just not." "Fine," I said, and I opened the lower cabinet with my foot and took out a bag of pretzels. "You want a soda?" I asked. "No." I sighed and hoped he didn't die of dehydration, but it was still in the 90s outside. We made our way to the small living room where Connor spotted the guitar in the corner. "Is that yours?" he asked. "Yeah," I said, opening the TV cabinet with my foot. "Will you play for me? I can't wait to see you play with your feet." "Maybe another day. I'm kind of out of practice right now," I said, and that wasn't exactly true. I kind of just felt shy about it, like I needed to prepare before I performed for him. If I ever would perform for him, I still hadn't made up my mind. "Promise?" Connor asked. "Yeah, I'll play with you for you sometime, just not right now." Connor turned his attention to the row of video games in the cabinet. "You have some good ones in he said, thumbing through them. "Yeah, my dad likes to play. They're mostly his." "Huh, your dad's cool," Connor said, clearly impressed by my dad's immaturity. He pulled out an ultra-violent war game. "Let's play this." I shook my head. "No, that's not allowed. That one's for my dad only." Connor frowned, put the game back in the cabinet, and pulled out another game I wasn't allowed to play. "I'm not allowed to play any game that has a disclaimer on the cover," I said. I walked to the cabinet and pulled out a racing game. "Let's play this one instead." "I guess." Connor let out kind of a dramatic sigh, clearly disappointed we weren't going to battle each other to death. "I'm better at games when I can mostly use the joystick," I said to Connor, and I slipped the disc into the console. "That's good, because you're going to need every advantage to beat me." We ended up playing for a couple of hours. I don't think Connor expected me to be such a good player. Yeah, I mean, he beat me a lot, but I gave him a good fight and even won a couple of races myself. I think I played worse than normal because Connor ticked a lot while he played, and that distracted me. I guess the tics probably made it harder for him to play as well. I thought about him at home playing video games all night by himself and ticking badly. Maybe it wasn't good for him to spend all of his free time doing that. I felt like I was starting to understand Connor's tics, what made them worse and what made them better. Definitely when Connor was stressed or excited about anything, his tics got worse. And when he felt calm and comfortable, they weren't so bad. I guess video games kind of worked him up a little. Mom walked in the door just as we were putting the games away. "You would absolutely not believe what Bob did now," she said as she threw her hat into the kitchen table. I looked at Connor and whispered in a Dracula accent for some reason. "Murdered someone?" He giggled. She walked into the living room and saw Connor. "Oh, this must be Connor." She reached out her hand to shake with his. "Nice to meet you, Mrs. Green," Connor said softly, and I could tell he was trying to hold his tics in. "Nice to meet you too," Mom said. Connor let out a loud bark, and Mom jumped back. "Oh my!" She giggled. "That was interesting." "Connor has Tourette's syndrome," I reminded her. "Oh," she said, "that's right. Don't look so nervous, honey." Mom touched Connor's arm to put him at ease. "It only makes your tics worse." I looked at her in surprise and said, "Mom, how do you know about Tourette's?" She gave me an annoyed look. "Avon, I was a psychology major in college. Of course I know about Tourette's." "You are a psych major in college?" I said. "What's that?" She rolled her eyes. "You know, psychology. Don't you ever to listen to me when I talk?" "No, 'cause you usually just talk about boring old people stuff." Mom grabbed me and ran her knuckles over my head, messing up my hair. "Ouch!" I cried, wriggling away from her. "All right, I'm going to get dinner started. Will you two do me a favor and run over to the gold mine and fire Bob?" I smiled, but Connor looked grave. "Thank you, Mrs. Green, but I'm not going to stay for dinner." "Oh, yes, you are," I said. "Your mom's working. What are you going to eat for dinner if you don't eat with us?" Connor froze up like he had no idea what to say. I'll eat cereal." My mom said, "That is unacceptable. You're eating with us, and then I'll take you home after dinner since your mom's working." Connor appeared absolutely terrified at the thought. "No, I like cereal. He could barely get the words out from his ticking. Why won't you eat, Connor? I asked. Are you anorexic? He seemed to relax a little bit at that and laughed. No, I'm not anorexic. I just... What? Tell me. I'm your friend, Connor. Tell me. Sometimes, he stuttered, sometimes I spit when I eat. Connor's cheeks were bright red as he shrugged and blinked his eyes. I spit out food. Mom gave Connor an understanding smile. That's not uncommon, she said. We will all wear raincoats at dinner tonight. And with that, she opened a cabinet and started pulling out potatoes. Connor looked at me and said, I hope you have face masks, too. I kicked at his shoe. See, it's no big deal. We know you can't help it. Connor's expression changed. I wish my parents were as understanding as yours. It got to the point at home that neither of them would want to eat with me anymore. My dad would yell at me for spitting, and that just made it worse. He tugged at his hair. Now I just eat in my room by myself. My mom's hardly ever around, and so it really doesn't matter anyway. It matters, I said emphatically. It matters a lot. As we were setting the table for dinner, Dad walked in. I think that old llama might have to be put down, he said, and shrugged his shoulders. My head shot up. What? No, not spaghetti, I cried. Mom and Dad both gave me a funny look, and I shrugged. We have a special connection. I looked at Connor. We're both X-Men, remember? Mutants. I'm sorry, honey, Dad said. He's so old. He's like 22 years old. Denise said he's hardly eaten in 2 days, and that thing growing out of his head, well, it can't be comfortable. I'll nurse him back to health, I insisted. I'm not sure that's possible at this age, Dad said. Anyway, we can talk about it later. The vet's coming tomorrow, and we'll see how he does over the next few days. By the time we all sat down at the table for dinner, I didn't have much of an appetite. I kept thinking about poor spaghetti, and I wasn't able to eat. I looked at Connor. I could tell that he was hesitant to take a bite of his pork chop. It's okay, Connor, Dad said. We're all prepared. Dad lifted something off of his lap, and they were ski goggles, and he slipped them over his eyes and said, No worries. David, Mom cried, punching him in the arm. That's terrible. But Connor laughed. It seemed to put him at ease, and finally he took a bite of his mashed potatoes. Don't worry, Mom said. Everything is non-staining. I glared at Dad. All the things we had to get rid of, and you brought ski goggles to Arizona? These were like $80, he defended himself. So, Connor, Dad said, removing his ridiculous goggles, what are you interested in? I mean, besides pulling morbid pranks with my daughter and scaring visitors away from the park. Then he narrowed his eyes at me and said, You might want to rethink hanging out with her. She can be a bad influence. And you have terrible sideburns, I said, unable to come up with anything better. He really did have bad sideburns. They were horribly uneven. Dad just ignored that comment. So, he said, returning his attention to Connor. I like movies, Connor said. I have a huge movie collection at home. Oh, so why don't I take you guys to the movies this weekend, Mom said, clearly thrilled that I had made a friend. Connor looked appalled and shrunk into his seat, and he shook his head rapidly. No, movie theaters. You don't go to the movies? I said, No way. I went there once, and my tic started a few years ago, and that was just not a fun experience. What happened? I asked. People complained, of course. No one wants to listen to a dog barking while they're trying to watch a movie. Oh, people are so rude, I said. They're not rude, Connor said. They didn't know that I had Tourette's syndrome. That's what makes it embarrassing. I scrunched up my nose. You should wear a t-shirt that says, I have Tourette's syndrome everywhere you go. Then people will leave you alone. Connor snorted. Yeah, maybe you can make me one even. Then he kicked my foot under the table gently. Should we tell them what happened? He whispered. Tell us what? Mom said. I gave my parents a highly serious look. We think there may have been a murder or a murderer at Stagecoach Pass. Dad coughed and choked on his mouthful of pork chops, and Mom slapped him on the back while he hacked his food into his napkin. When he could finally breathe, he gasped, What? What? Why would you think such a thing? We updated Mom and Dad on our theories about the Kavanaughs. Avon, Mom said, just because people are secretive doesn't mean they've been murdered. I have to admit, Sheebs, Dad said, you haven't exactly presented us with the most convincing evidence. Some people are just really private, and they value their privacy, Mom added. I nodded at them like I agreed, but Connor and I were giving each other knowing looks. Yeah, right, like we were going to let it go that easily. Then Connor looked from me to my parents and back again. So where does Avon get her red hair from? He asked. I'm adopted, Connor, I said. Oh, that's cool, said Connor. That's so cool, said Mom. And I rolled my eyes. Here she goes. She loves to tell people about my adoption. Connor looked at my mom with interest, so she took that as her cue to tell the story for the 1,000,000th time. Well, my mom began, Avon's dad and I couldn't have a baby, so we'd figured we'd end up adopting one. I started reading a lot about adoption online, and then one day I was at this website where there was this tab that said, Kids in Need of a Forever Family. So I clicked on it. I scrolled down until I saw it, the most precious little angel baby face I had ever seen in my entire life. It was mine, in case you're wondering, I said. I knew the moment I saw her that she was my daughter, Mom went on, with those chubby pink cheeks and that bright red mop of hair. She'd never seen such a precious, beautiful, amazing, brilliant, intelligent child, I said, and Connor raised an eyebrow. Well, I might be embellishing a little bit. No, she's not at all, Mom said. I knew right at that moment that I saw her that I was looking into the face of my daughter. It was like she was born for me right in that moment. Some women birth babies, and I found Avon through the computer that day. Mom, Connor doesn't want to hear the whole story. Really. Anyway, right below her picture it said, Avon, 2 years old. I couldn't believe she was 2 years old and hadn't been adopted yet. Yeah, she didn't realize that I was on an adoption website for children with special needs, I said. So I clicked on her picture, and that's when I saw she didn't have arms. And that didn't even matter, I said. She wanted me anyway. Mom gave me her gushy love face, so I broke the news that night to her dad at dinner. Yeah, Dad said. She told me that my future daughter was a beautiful redhead. Oh, and by the way, she didn't have any arms. How'd you feel about that? Connor asked. Well, I was surprised, of course, but once I saw her, I agreed wholeheartedly. She was our daughter. Dad gave me his own version of the gushy love face. We did a lot of research before I got Avon, so we knew we could give her the best care. Connor, there are a lot of amazing people in the world who don't have arms. Really? Connor said, surprised. Yes, there's a successful architect who designs skyscrapers by using his feet to type, just like Avon does on the computer, and a woman who paints beautiful artwork that sells for quite a bit of money. And then there's the guy who's a motivational speaker, Dad added. Oh, yeah, Mom said. And then there are people just living totally regular lives, raising children, driving cars, and doing everything that people with arms do. That's cool, said Connor. Remember when we visited the teacher? What was his name? Carl? Dad said to Mom. Yeah, we found him through this website, Mom told Connor. It's called Unarmed Education. We had to drive all the way to Colorado to meet him, but it was worth it. He showed us how he did all kinds of things. He even drove us to the grocery store with his feet. Yeah, Mom said. David chewed his fingernails the whole way there. Can you blame me? I didn't know. Anyway, Mom said, he shopped for food all on his own and made us a lovely dinner with his feet. We knew Avon would be able to do all of these things and more. When we finally got her, though, she couldn't do anything. Mom threw her arms up in exasperation. Her foster families had done everything for her, bathed her, fed her, brushed her teeth. She just sat around like a slug, waiting for someone to carry her off like the Queen of Sheba. Queen of Sheba, Dad reiterated, or Sheebs. That's what I call her for short. I rolled my eyes. And this was when Mom's full-time job became teaching Avon how to do stuff. Yep, Right away, I was dumping out jars of marbles and telling her to put them all back into a jar, giving her a fresh bowl of crackers and telling her to feed herself for the first time in her life, giving her a sheet of stickers and a blank piece of paper and telling her to decorate it, telling her to brush her own teeth, wash her own feet, and scratch her own itches. Come to think of it, I said, it wasn't so much teaching me how to do stuff as it was telling me to do stuff. Well, that may be, Mom said, but mostly it was telling her that she could do anything she wanted if she tried hard enough. Yeah, I got over being the Queen of Sheba pretty quickly, I said. Yeah, I can see that, said Connor, when with his face he spit his mouthful of mashed potatoes right into mine. We'll stop there for today.